we are joined by Steve Morales, head of growth at Kut From The Kloth, and our very own Sam Barati, VP of CS at Tapcart. Excited to dig into some tactical and hear a little bit about the experience that Kut From The Kloth is having with Tapcart thus far. But more broadly, just leaning into a number of e-com marketing trends and things that have been on your mind and also things that you're recognizing across the space. But Steve, I'd love to start with you. I know that you recently joined Kut From The Kloth full-time. I think you've been engaged with them for a while. You want to tell us a little bit about maybe your background generally?
Sure.
How you came to Kut From The Kloth, and we go from there?
Yeah, definitely. I started working about 20 years ago. Started in the music business and did about 10 years in music and then now 10 years in fashion. So it's crazy to think that it has been 20 years already of working, but it's gone by pretty quickly. So I would say the through line there would just be focusing on technology and doubling down on technology to really for growth, which has really helped me along the way throughout my career. So worked at Warner Brothers Records, did a lot of fun stuff on MySpace back in the day and the whole like Warped Tour rock scene. So we worked really close with bands like My Chemical Romance, Avenged Sevenfold. Got to work on, love those guys. Got to work on Madonna's Confessions on a Dance Floor record and some really cool fun stuff back in the early 2000s. And then worked at a merchandise company and then transitioned into fashion through a men's fashion subscription service called Trendy Butler. And then eventually went over to NYDJ. So was there, transitioned them from Salesforce to Shopify Plus, and then was at Sunrise Brands for about 3 years, helped them acquire Joie Equipment, Kern Elliott, and then Rebecca Minkoff right before I left. And then now I'm over at SWAT Fame, who owns Kut From The Kloth and Edison, and was really excited that they had already engaged with Tapcart. So it was the first time I was able to be hands-on. I've been wanting to work with Tapcart for some time now, and was excited to finally have someone to work with. So was consulting with them back in September, and then they asked me to come on board as head of growth in January. So have been excited to be off to a great start this year. We finished our first fiscal quarter just the end of May, and everything has been positive and going in a great direction.
Awesome. Well, let's start there. What are the big things that you're focused on? What is the appropriate time horizon? Fiscal year? Are you thinking about half year, quarter?
Yeah, so quarter for sure. So our fiscal year starts March 1st, which is really odd, and it drives me a little crazy, but you know it is what it is. But yeah, just finished up the first quarter. I'm fortunate and blessed to be up significantly. So original plan was to be up 22%. We're thankfully up 42%, and everything across the board is doing really well. So both from the acquisition side and retention side, and then all channels across the board doing very well, both on our own .com as well as through the app. And you know, as I said, relying on technology is really what I focused on. So I've been obsessed and voraciously seeking out new vendors and technology and like what is going to get us that incremental growth. And I would say, I've been quoted by certain CEOs and founders like, hey, like you can't take what, Steve does because he's a power user and apply it to, the vast majority of brands that are out there because, he gets a little too deep and intense into what he does. But it's because, that's what I feel like is the differentiator between, what's going to help a brand that is, at 25 to 30 million versus, maybe some other brands that are higher and have the opportunity and flexibility to be able to, get away with things that maybe we can. So I'm excited for the opportunity we have there, and just feel like that's what sets me apart, to be able to grow as quick as we can. So excited for what we have there and some initial great winnings that we have had in our first quarter of our fiscal year, and then want to push that through fall, which is our next super season coming up.
Very cool.
Yeah, we just had an amazing shoot that we just did in Joshua Tree at the Invisible House. So want to launch that in August and September, and some assets that came out there. So excited about that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We talked about that actually off camera, and I've got some other questions that I want to come back to you on the shoot. You're up, 42%, I think you said, against a goal of 20.
Yep.
What are you marching against in fiscal Q2? Like, what are some of the big initiatives out in front of you between now and the end of the year?
So we just had to sit down with our president and CFO at the same time, and we have front loaded a little bit of the budget because I wanted to invest in software and offset that, quarter you figure like 25%, you load up like maybe 45% of the budget on software because you want to see what's going to work. Again, I said I care about technology, and I think that's the way to go. So you look at, okay, it worked because you make a little bit of a gamble, but it's a mitigated risk because it's what you have proven with your experience, what you want to do. Like I said, I was excited that I finally have a brand that's already on TapCard and they show success, and it's like the numbers don't lie. Like you look at LTV, conversion rate, like you check all the boxes and everything is working better in the app than you're sitting here, spending all this time and money, and you're just, failing when, 2-3% of the people are converting on the site. And you have this great, community and user base on the app that's doing so well. So like, what are you focusing on? So I would say that, it is optimizing both the acquisition as well as the retention. And that's what we need to look at for the next 3 quarters. We're going into it's denim, so we are going into 2 slower months. So it's understanding that, as well as budgeting for, our super season, which is coming up in fall.
Let's lean on the retention side.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the primary areas of focus to win retention through the end of the year?
We just had a call with Stephanie from TapCart, and she brought up something. The TapCart team is great because, I feel like, JJ, you and I spoke about this. So it's like, you felt like I was so knowledgeable about TapCart. Like, it's like your 3rd or 4th brand that's on TapCart. I was like, no, it's like my first. But I was so excited because like, I love Eamon, love Neil, like I love the whole team, because I feel like it's people who would be my peers at other brands, and I've seen you speak at different conferences, and I've seen the content afterwards, and it's as if you're one of my peers and executives at another brand because of your intimate knowledge, and you speak how I speak as if you were one of my friends, and spoke to Stephanie. She's like, oh hey, well I noticed that you turned off the sign up for the app on your Memorial Day sale. And I was like, well, yeah, it didn't make sense because, we have a strong wholesale division and presence, and Nordstrom and our boutiques are very on our site all the time. They're watching our discounts. So like, I can't do what I would want to do, which is to offer a better discount or incentive to download the app because the numbers are great. Like I said, the numbers don't lie. Numbers are better across the board there for our customers there. So I would want to offer them more to go to the app than to sign up for our email list and SMS list. But I can't do that because of the restrictions due to our wholesale partnerships. So it doesn't make sense when we're in our 2nd biggest sale of the year outside of Black Friday to take up this real estate on the site where you're fighting for like a frictionless process. So she brought that up and I was like, okay, well, this is why we did it. And, I was like, oh, wow, you're really actively paying attention to what we have going on. Like, this is amazing. And, it goes back to the acquisition versus retention, which is interesting because now, like, as we're going back into our slower season, we're pulling back on our budgets on retention. Like, we have a great agency that's on board. We have a great dev team that's on board. Like, everything is lining up to replicate the success that I had at a competitor. And now I'm at a company that was at the same place, and I'm going to do it twice as fast because I can bank on my experience, I can bank on my relationships, and it seems like everybody's excited to be back on board. So it's exciting, but yeah, I would say that now we're kind of flipping the script where we're going to 2 slower months for us because denim and the summer is not as much. So I would say we're going from goal of maybe 30 to 40% down from what we're looking at in April and May for June and July, but want to see if we can flip it for pulling a little back on acquisition, flipping it to retention, where I think there's an opportunity with TapCart to take that same strategy and flip it to the retention side instead of acquisition.
I'm going to loop back to a second to the exchange you were mentioning with Stephanie.
Yeah.
For clarity, who's one of our account reps assigned to Steve's account. Sam leads that team, and one of the best practices that we have in place is that there's a particular module live on the website. Can you tell a little bit about that? Can you provide a little bit of context on what that back and forth was about? And do you have any workarounds for like, hey, I can't extra incentivize the mobile app, even though I think that's my most performant channel and I want to migrate my base there, because it's going to upset my wholesale partners? Is there another play? Is there a workaround?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the feature that we're all talking about is our capture kit. So this allows us to place a pop-up banner on the mobile website or the desktop site that you can fully customize between colors, copy, positioning on the site, and really drive an incentive to get customers to download the app. That could be a percentage off or highlighting maybe like a free gift with purchase on the app, really whatever is on brand for the direct customer. And so I totally understand that if you're running a big acquisition play where retailers that are carrying your product or even maybe what you're offering on site is going to be top of mind and can't compete with the retention strategy that might provide a larger incentive. So think about like maybe 15% off retail and web. It wouldn't make sense to offer 20% off on the app. So totally understand when you'd have to turn off those features to align with your business strategy. But what I think could be cool, and what we've seen often in the market, is that you're putting a lot of money into your CAC. You want to get a customer to acquire. And one of the most positive experiences that comes from buying something online is when the product actually shows up to your house and you can unbox it. And what we have found is piggybacking off of that unboxing experience can actually be quite fruitful. And so we recommend our customers to put in box mailers that have a QR code with a nice little message like, hey, thanks for your purchase. Hey, if you want to come back and shop a second time, here's 20% off to purchase off of our mobile app. And so the QR code will route to the App Store. You can scan it with your phone. It's an immediate install. You can get some good attribution on that campaign. And then you get that second, potentially even third purchase from that inbox mailer. So in situations where you may have to pull back off of website real estate, definitely that unboxing experience can work really well. And we've also found that customers that do retail, one of our customers, Addicted, they just launched a new store in the Grove here in LA. They actually have that QR code with the Apple Play, App Store and Google Play Store icons on all of their bags. So you buy something, you leave the store, and on the bag there's the QR code. So it's very top of mind, low effort, but very effective. And so I think for you guys, as you're looking to potentially either make acquisition or retention the area of focus, when retention pulls back, there are more of these subtle strategies that you can use that can be effective and not violate some of these wholesale arrangements that you guys have.
We'd be happy to implement that right away for sure. No, I think that makes a lot of sense for us. Like, especially like we started working with Tido, was like one of the first partners we were working with, and we got so many insights on like the path to purchase and just the time between our first and second purchase that was so frequent. So I think marrying those two together, like, hey, if we don't look at it from an acquisition standpoint before more of a retention standpoint, and it solves all of our problems. So I mean that's something that stay tuned.
Yeah, we always
get
say
that rolling right now.
Acquisition helps you grow, but retention helps you thrive. And so brands that don't have a good retention strategy don't really hit their full potential. And when you think about how often people are on their phones, it's actually the most important device to most people on the planet. Apps really start to make more and more sense when you get that device real estate. You have home screen advantage. Through push notifications, you have lock screen advantage. And so there's really not another channel that gives you the same level of real estate as a mobile app. And so not only does it help with like an optimized mobile shopping experience, but it becomes its own marketing channel. And with more and more regulations on email, SMS, paid ads, push notifications really are the frontier that like no one's touching. Completely. And so it can allow you to maintain competitive in the market we have today.
Yeah, I'm not sure if marketers know this, but from a budgeting standpoint, push notifications on an app are free.
Yeah, you can send as many as you want, as often as you want. It doesn't change the price of the app. It only just unlocks more sales. And what we often find as well is that a lot of marketers will pursue transactional messaging where you're like pushing products, sales, etc. But because of the cost efficiency of push, you can actually start toying around with non-transactional messaging. So these are messages that create curiosity or inspiration, even humor.
Yeah.
And what you find is that consumers interact with these things more at a relationship level. And then that goes and unlocks additional transactions. So purchase frequency starts to go up. And these are sales you wouldn't otherwise get should you not have tested that messaging. And what we often see as well is that the non-transactional messages that work well on the app, they'll then roll out into more paid media like ads and or SMS, which then makes the app a nice sandbox where you can toy around with these ideas and see what sticks and kind of go from there.
So it sounds like you had a banger quarter in Q1. How did the app contribute to that?
It did really well, and we didn't have to put a lot of time, effort, or really resources behind it. So it kind of did what it did because, I was newer to the company. I was trying to figure out okay, we have this, sales goal, but I kind of am getting my ground in with the company. I'm trying to establish trust, and I have where I think I can take this, but there's so many things I need to establish for myself. And the app's just working. And as I said, the numbers are there. The numbers don't lie. Everything's just working, but I'm just okay, can't really focus on this right now, but just let it work. Let it do its thing. But where I know I can get this crazy growth is through this new customer acquisition and through paid media, where I have this thing I can unlock. But the app's chill, the app's good, right? And you'll continue to do your thing. So it's a good solid thing where now I feel with this retention play, that's where I'm okay, cool, we can flip the switch there, which I love that you brought up, which I'm excited about. Because that to me is a game changer, right? Because I feel too many people are just falling into the same mold of okay, we got to offer this, we got to offer that, we got to do the pop-up, and we got to offer the app download. But what if you just stopped offering that? And again, go stop competing with yourself off an acquisition play and use it as a retention play. You're not thinking about it in the right framework.
Definitely. When you think about the customer journey, there's the hourglass that everyone knows, which is acquisition to retention, and both are important.
Yeah.
We definitely don't try to compete with acquisition, but you think about the amount of time, money, and energy you put into acquisition, it would all be in vain if you couldn't keep that customer around for a second or third transaction. And so where we kind of fit in is hey, do your thing with acquisition, continue doubling down on that. It's what you need to grow your business, but don't lose your customers to competitors or other distractions in the market. And one of the best ways you can keep your customers around at the lowest cost with the highest performance is the mobile app. And so I do agree, a lot of our customers find it to be very cost effective in terms of time investment, monetary investment. You don't have to put a lot of paid media behind it to promote it. It can piggyback off of a lot of organic strategies that you're already doing with your business. And so it allows you to really scale retention in a way that other channels haven't been able to provide. And, I think from what you guys have seen with your own experience, it's allowed you to really grow as a business.
So I would say that the great thing about TapCard is it was steady, but it was also something that I could, turn on when I needed to turn it on. And then, as it worked so well alongside with all of our other efforts was the best part of it. And then it was just that consistent incremental lift across the board.
Yeah, well, we're never going to be able to execute every initiative that we want to, right? We can't wage war simultaneously on all fronts. It sounds like you've just got more important fires to put out in some other areas of the business, and the app's been on cruise control and something you can trust and something you can count on. You've mentioned the numbers a few times.
Yeah.
What are the numbers?
If you look at anything, LTV, great. Conversion rate, great. You put it up against anything else on our website, and it's sometimes it's double. The only thing that's down is acquisition cost, which is the one that you want it to be down.
Yeah.
But anything across the board, you see the numbers. I don't have it off the top of my head, but all the numbers that you want to be up are up, and the number you want to be down is acquisition cost, which is down. But yeah, tell me the metrics that you report on.
On average, we have 2,000 customers, so there's a range, but we normally see conversion rate double the website, sometimes triple. Usually AOV tends to be about 15 to 25% higher than the website. Purchase frequency, depending on the brand, their product offering, and the incentive, is usually about double what you see on web. So ultimately, your app customers are buying more often. When they buy, they're spending more money, and it takes less sessions to convert them to an actual sale. So a lot of those LTV metrics are in your favor. And so really when you think about it, it's like you get a higher output for less input when it comes to the app. And I think a lot of that comes with the convenience that an app offers. It's an optimized shopping experience for a mobile phone. You can receive a push notification that sparks your curiosity. You land on a product or collection. You kind of find what you're looking for. And really, before you get a chance to even double guess yourself, you're clicking that Apple Pay button and the transaction's over. So, you could make a purchase in under a minute flat, sometimes even 30 seconds. And when you think about other apps that really pioneered this, everyone has Amazon on their phone. When they launched that buy now button, their growth rate as far as like revenue started to really accelerate because they captured the psychology of impulse shoppers. And so you don't want people thinking too long about a transaction. You just want to capture them while they're excited and make it convenient. And there's not too many other channels out there that connects all the dots like a mobile app.
We got into a little discussion when we caught up on Zoom last week about channel mix. And pretty early into the discussion, you were like, I would just rather have somebody on my mobile app as a subscriber than on my email list as a subscriber. Yep. And you seemed like really firm in the way that you shared that. Can you tell me a little bit more about where that came from and what that's rooted in?
Yeah, I would say it's just, if you look at the amount of resources that we have to put into email, and you look at those two aspects of what we're fighting for real estate wise, we're getting people to want to click opt in, both on the user experience side, right? And again, that's why we ended up turning off the opt in. Is just as a marketer, as a brand executive owner, you try to offer a frictionless experience is what I hear being thrown around often. So it's if you're having to make a decision between a few of these things, would you rather have someone sign up for email, download the app, etc.? Download the app, I would say hands down, because I follow the numbers. But everybody defaults to capturing the email, but after I capture those things, what then do I have to do? How many emails do I have to send? What goes into sending those emails? Design, photo shoots, cost. As we said earlier, push notifications are free. Emails and SMS aren't free. MMS is not free or cheap. We got great partners, but there's a cost associated. So, beyond the numbers, there's also the fee associated. So across the board, it's just trying to get those numbers up.
For the ones that you do have in multiple audiences, do you suppress or do you send on all channels?
Completely. No, we definitely suppress them and try to, because it's that cost that could get out of control.
Thank you also for coming out, spending some time with us. Really appreciate it. Hope you had a great event. Thank you, Sam, as well. Appreciate it as always. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, that's a wrap.